We are only a few months away from Mega Man 11, so to get caught up, I will be doing a Mega Man video every month until we are all caught up. I need to be caught up by the time Mega Man 11 comes out, so I've got several videos planned. What can I say about Mega Man? I love Mega Man. It's one of my favorite video game series of all time. It spawns so many different variations and sub-series, but the series we're going to start off with is the Classic series. I apologize if I'm pronouncing any of these names wrong. Mega Man was created by Akira Kotomura and Keiji Inafune. Capcom wanted a new series of games for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Influenced by anime and rock and roll, they created Rockman, who would come to be known as Mega Man here in America. The box art is hilariously awful. I know the person drawing this had a very strict deadline, but he doesn't even look like he does in the game. Well, with the introductions out of the way, let's go into the story of the original Mega Man. In the year 20XX, Dr. Thomas Light and Dr. Albert Wily both attended the same university. Light would go on to create robots for the benefit of mankind, while Wily became jealous of living in Light's shadow and began plotting to take over the world. Dr. Light would create two assistants to help him in maintaining the lab, Rock and Roll. One day, Dr. Light was to receive the Nobel Peace Prize for his achievements in robotics as he unveiled his newest creation, 6 robots who would help with everyday life. However, it was at this moment that Wily chose to strike. Having tired of living in Light's shadow, he steals the 6 robots for himself and sets out to conquer the world. All seems lost, but Rock, having a strong sense of justice, asks to be made into a fighting robot. Light does so and Rock is turned into Mega Man, super fighting robot. Now, while Mega Man Legacy Collection was just released for the Switch, the footage you see will largely be from the original NES cartridge. I like the idea of being authentic with my footage from now on. I did record some footage from the Legacy Collection to compare the two and see how it looks. I must say it looks much more cleaned up on the Legacy Collection. With the original game there was quite a bit of slowdown, but that was largely common with NES games at the time since it couldn't handle that much going on. Also, the Legacy Collection comes with a rewind feature which takes away a lot of the challenge of these games. Mega Man controls nicely. You have a life bar which dictates how many hits you can take before you explode. It's not like Super Mario Bros. Where you only had 2 hits and you were dead. His jump feels floaty, like how a robot probably would jump. It's a platformer, so it's all about timing your jumps, avoiding enemies who make certain patterns, and surrounded by bottomless pits. Mega Man starts off with only his Mega Buster, which is stuck in shooting 3 shots left or right. It's all about timing your shots so you can destroy an enemy before it hits. There are 6 stages, and you have the freedom to do them in any order that you choose. At the end of each stage, you fight a boss. When you beat said boss, you get their weapon. Each robot master is weak to a specific weapon. What's also fun is using the boss's weapon to give you further advantages, like how Electman's weapon can shoot in 3 directions, so it's very useful for overhead enemies, or how Iceman's weapon can be used to freeze pillars of fire into place. This game is simply an absolute classic. Well, I never said it was easy. Yes, Mega Man is definitely not an easy game. While Mega Man has a life bar, others can be hits of instant death. Spikes. Mega Man does not like spikes. Any contact with them, and boom, you are dead. Getting knocked down when hit, falling into a bottomless pit, oh yeah, definitely prevalent in these games. Fortunately, there are ways to refill your health with these life energy. You have big and small. You definitely want to get the big one if you can. You have energy refill because using a boss's weapon consumes weapon energy, and if you're depleted, you're out of luck. Chances are, when you reach a boss, you are low on health. So the best strategy, assuming you have the extra life to do so, is to die on purpose so you can come back in with full health. Now I'm going to talk about each stage in the order I did them in. I started with Cutman stage. It's a fairly simple stage, just a lot of running and jumping, shooting to make your way to Cutman. I noticed that boss rooms actually have enemies waiting in between them, which is not at all how they would be done today. Cutman is weak to the super arm, but he's actually really easy with the Mega Buster. But then I realized I did the bosses out of order, so I decided to go to Bomb Man stage next. Bomb Man stage starts out similarly, until you get to what look like billet bills with wavy lines. This is where I discovered that as long as a little piece of Mega Man's leg touches the platform, you will be fine. Here, something very odd happened. I found an extra life and then dueled a Sniper Joe to the death. Following that, I returned to the ground level, where the extra life respawned as a tease, I suppose. Bomb Man is a fairly standard boss, just gotta look out for his bombs. Next level I did was Gutsman. This level starts you off with platforms that fall down when they reach a certain location, so you have to time your jumps just right or else you're dead. I swear I clipped through that one. The rest of the stage is nothing too bad. Once you get the Gutsmen, you have to use the bombs, and they have a radius, so you have to make sure you catch them in that radius. With that done, let's move on to Elecman stage, which is just nice because it starts you off with these enemies that go faster if you touch the platform, so you gotta be lightning fast. It teases you with an energy refill. So I fall down, but I get hit anyway going back up, making it a waste of time. Here you get the magnet beam, and you better get this because your life will depend on it. Iceman stage introduces you to two things, underwater and disappearing blocks that you need to time your jumps onto. Of course, you have this little bastard in the water, so you have to keep jumping to get around him. A section where you have to jump across moving platforms that shoot at you, and sliding physics. Iceman is not very hard, just hit him with the thunder beam. Fireman stage is largely straightforward, just a bunch of fire obstacles. It's here I realized the power of invincibility frames. After taking damage, you have a brief period where you won't get hit if you're quick enough. Fireman himself is not a particularly hard boss. He's weak to the Ice Slasher, which just cuts into anything. Now it's time to take the fight to Dr. Wily. The first stage is pretty straightforward. You will need the magnet beam here to get past certain areas. One time I ran out of magnet beam energy, so I had to keep falling back down to the previous screen to refill it. The boss is the Yellow Devil, a huge blob of whatever he is. He's incredibly hard to read, but there is an easy way to get past him. The pause trick. I'm awesome. The second stage largely takes place outside. I recommend using the Thunder Beam to get past the obstacles due to their patterns. I told you this ability comes in handy. Then comes the boss, Mega Man's Double. He mimics your every move. The best thing to do here is to use the Firestorm because it also grants you a shield. We both take each other down to the wire, but eventually I managed to defeat the evil Double. In fact, Mega Man was so happy, he was dancing. The third stage is a fairly straightforward underwater level that ultimately leads into the confrontation with Dr. Wily's trash compactor. It's actually a pretty easy boss once you know what the trick is. Just pound away with the Mega Buster and use the Super Arm to destroy the last 4 robots. Easy. The final stage is a grind to get to Wily. You have to repeat fights with the Robot Masters along the way, which is different from how they would do it later on. Finally, you confront Dr. Wily in his Wily machine. He's actually really easy. All you have to do is hit the machine gun with the Firestorm, and then when his cockpit is exposed, hit him with the rolling cutter. Wily will beg for mercy, and Mega Man has won the day, as the end screen tells you. So that's Mega Man 1. It's difficult, but yet I find that it stood the test of time. It is a genuine classic, and without it we wouldn't have Mega Man as we do today, so do yourself a favor, play this game, it's worth it. Well, we're not done yet. It's time to move on to Mega Man 2. Mega Man 2 is considered by many to be the best classic Mega Man game, and for good reason. It took everything the original did and made it better. I mean, for starters, I could listen to this password theme all day. The story is pretty simple too. This time, Dr. Wily has created 8 of his own Robot Masters to get revenge on Mega Man, and Mega Man, being the good robot that he is, goes out to stop Dr. Wily yet again. So now, what's new in the world of Mega Man 2? Well, it plays similarly. Energy capsules are now shaped much more differently and will stay that way for the rest of the series. You now have energy tanks which will refuel your health if needed, but be warned, you will lose them if you get a game over. The challenge is much more lenient this time around, as enemy placement is much more forgiving, though the same old fallback when hit rears its ugly head here. In addition to the 8 Robot Masters weapons, Mega Man can gain access to 3 new power-ups that allow him to traverse various obstacles much more easily. Metal Man's weapon is great as it allows you to fire in 8 different directions, and it barely spends any weapon energy, so I'd rather rock this whenever possible. So now, I'll talk about each of the stages. The first one I did was Airman stage. It has such a pretty atmosphere taking place up in the sky, but that also means ground obstructions. Real nice. People say Airman is a hard boss, but I honestly defeated him really easy with the Mega Buster. Not much to say, so let's move on to Crashman. Crashman stage is like a colossal climb, always going up and up. Oh hey, look, an extra life. Guess I'll go around, get that climb my way up, and... ow. Typical. I came across sprite flickering to the utmost degree. Not sure if this is present on the Legacy Collection, but it's there. He's easy to beat with the air shooter. Next I did Flashman stage. It looks all crystally, for lack of a better word, which means sliding back a lot. Here's where the bombs come in handy for opening alternate pathways. Sliding around, fighting Sniper Joes in a mech. How wonderful. Flashman can freeze you in place, but I managed to beat him in a pretty tough fight to the death. Next I did Quickman stage. This stage introduces you to lasers that will kill you in one hit if you touch them. Fortunately, this is where Flashman's ability to freeze time comes in handy. For Quickman, amazingly enough, I killed him in one hit with a well-timed bomb. Now that's explosive power for you. Next is Metal Man stage, where I proceeded to use the power of freeze frame invincibility. One funny thing happened when I was fighting Metal Man. We were both damaging each other, but we both launched our final attacks at the same time, so therefore, we killed each other, but because I still technically killed him, it still counted, so I didn't lose a life. Ha! Next stage is Bubble Man, who actually has a great waterfall effect that I think looks great to this day. This is where underwater mechanics come into play, where Mega Man will somehow be able to jump twice as high, despite the fact that as a robot, I don't think he should be able to do that. Bubble Man is a piece of cake thanks to the Metal Blade. Next is Heat Man stage, which is notable for bringing back disappearing and reappearing blocks. There's one part where it could be very difficult, but fortunately all you have to do is use item 2 to get past the large section. Heat Man has the ability to teleport as a ball of flame, so it's a game of reflexes. You have to jump over him to beat him. Finally, that leaves us with Woodman. This is where you have to fight big cat-like robots for the first time. They take quite a few hits in order to go down. They're positioned on stairs, but the Metal Blade takes care of that pesky little problem. Woodman is easy, just hit him with the atomic fire. So now it's time to tackle Wily. Again. Wily Fortress Stage 1. You better get used to relying on Idol 1, because there's a part where you have to use 3 in a row and hope, just hope that your jump reaches the ladder at the end. Then you fight a huge dragon over a bottomless chasm, and if you die here, well, you don't get a checkpoint. You have to do the second half of the level all over again, which means that if you're out of energy, well, tough luck, better refill. The second stage is filled with spikes and spikes galore, but then you come across the boss, which is Pico Pico-kun, which sounds like it was literally translated from Japanese. It's pretty easy, just blow up the pieces with the Metal Blade and you're good. Love this baby. The third stage is nothing special, just a run-of-the-mill area with underwater sections. Then you fight Gutsman, or a giant Gutsman. What is with Wily's obsession with Gutsman anyway? Once I defeated him, Mega Man was missing half of his body. That's real nice. Next stage, this is where you fight the turrets, and you will need the Crash Bomber if you want to stand any kind of chance of success. If you run out of ammo, let them kill you, and go back and recharge your ammo. It's the only way you can win. Final stage, you have to fight all 8 Robot Masters in a row, which is not too bad since you have access to all their weaknesses. Metal Man is weak against his own weapon. Wily is super easy, just pelt away at him with the Metal Blade. But there's a twist. He actually manages to escape to fight another day. So you chase Dr. Wily down and he turns into an alien. You know, I always had suspicions, but nah, pumping him full with the bubble head reveals that it was just a hologram and Dr. Wily again pleads for mercy. I guess Mega Man just left him there. Again. Mega Man 2 was a very fun game. It's an improvement on the original in every way. It's one of my favorite Mega Man games ever, and for good reason. It was included on the NES Classic for a reason. Mega Man 2 showed just what the Blue Bomber was capable of, but his legend was only continuing to grow. Mega Man 2 had seen resounding success, so Mega Man 3 was inedible. However, Keiichi Inafune claims that Mega Man 3 was the most difficult Mega Man game to produce, while Mega Man 2 was made on the developer's free time. The story this time around has Dr. Light and Dr. Wily working together to create a new robot named Gamma, but Gamma needs 8 energy elements to be completed, and the 8 robots that were guarding them have gone crazy, so now it's up to Mega Man to find them. During this time, Mega Man encounters a red robot whose identity is unknown for this time. I'll get into him later. Mega Man plays similarly to how he did in the first 2 games, so there's really not much to talk about there. New to this game is the slide feature where Mega Man will slide along the ground for a few seconds. It's a great way to get under jumping enemies or sliding in narrow crevices. Energy tanks now don't go away if you get a game over, so you can continue dying and building them up if you find a gold mine. Also new, is Mega Man's companion, Rush. Rush is a great robot dog who allows you to bounce up into the air, turn into a marine to go through underwater sections, or a jet that allows Mega Man to fly for a little while. I hope he sticks around for future games. The weapons are all great too. They give you so much variety in how you want to tackle the stages. So now let's talk about the stages. The first one I did was Top Man stage. It's a pretty straightforward stage with rising platforms and collectible goodies for you to get along the way. Nothing too bad about this. Top Man is a pretty easy boss too, as all you have to do is dodge his top spins and jump over him, and boom, you beat him with the Mega Buster. Next up is Shadow Man stage. It's notable because it's the first time Breakman appears. He doesn't really have a strategy, he just jumps around and it's pathetically easy to beat him. Which might be the entire point. Then there's parts where the screen gets dark so you can't see where you're jumping. Real nice. Using the top spin on Shadow Man is a pain, because I can never get it to work. But if you can pull it off, you can beat him really quickly. Next up is Sparkman stage. There are these parts where you have to avoid these pillars of electricity, but it's hard to dodge them, and when these guys shoot out their sparks, slowdown occurs. Just wonderful, wouldn't be an NES game without it. Gotta love when bolts appear over bottomless pits. Sparkman is easy with a Shadow Blade. Magnet Man stage introduces you to the magnets that pull you in various directions. Another incredibly easy fight with Breakman. Disappearing blocks with a magnet pulling you in. Oh, what great combinations. But I can handle it. Magnet Man is really easy with Spark Shot. Now for Hard Man stage. Takes place on a rocky terrain. Enemy placement is very forgiving for the most part. Just have to deal with those monkeys. Monkeys that will follow you wherever you want to go. Then another encounter with Breakman. Man, he really needs to figure out a new strategy. I love how Magnet Missile just hones in on Hard Man, making him a complete joke. Gemini Man stage takes place in outer space, because of course it does. This time, Breakman helps you progress. Huh. What's he after? It's here that the Rush Marine really comes in handy, otherwise you'll have to traverse a treacherous platforming hell section. Had to do Gemini Man without his weakness, but I managed because I am the king of Mega Man. Needle Man stage has needles coming out of the ceiling. How cute. Needle Man is really easy. There's not much to say. Gemini Laser bounces all over the field. You can't pause while the beam is in effect, so if you're in a bad position while using this weapon, well, tough luck. Finally, that leaves us with Snake Man. His stage is all green and scaly. Big snakes everywhere. Well, let's wrap this up. You beat him up with a needle cannon, and now all 8 Robot Masters are defeated, and what's this? Nope, not quite. You have to fight Doc Robot 8 times. 2 in each stage, which are slightly different than before. He takes the powers of Mega Man 2 bosses, so you have to guess and figure out what he's weak to. If you die on these parts, you don't get a checkpoint. This took me an hour to do. Not exactly my preferred way of extending game time. Another short fight with Breakman follows, and Mega Man will return to Dr. Light, who reveals that Dr. Wily has stolen Gamma. Gee, who would have seen that coming? Well, another day, another Wily castle. Go through the castle, but with all your tricks at your disposal. It's easy enough, then fight a boss that shoots turtles at you. How wonderful. Wily is really lacking in creativity. The second stage contains parts where you need to use the Rush Jet to get by. Another match with Yellow Devil. How wonderful. He's much slower and easier this time. I gotta say, they're being very generous with power-ups. Holographic Mega Man is again pretty easy. Rematch of all 8 Robot Masters, and now you fight Wily Machine number 3. Wily is, again, easy. Spark Shot to the turret, and then go on Rush Jet and blast him where he can't shoot you. Ah, so easy. Another day is when, hey wait, this Wily is a robot double. Wily actually did something intelligent! So now it's time to fight Gamma. Ultimate Robot versus Robot. Defeating the big kid is easy. Now it's down to you and Wily, and that was really anticlimactic. So Wily begs for mercy yet again, but this time blocks come down and trap both Mega Man and Wily. It appears too late to save Wily, but a mysterious figure teleports Mega Man away. Mega Man awakens in Dr. Light's lab, and he realizes that Proto Man must have saved Mega Man. Proto Man is Mega Man's older brother, the prototype if you will. Why he's left to go on his own accord is unclear. All Mega Man can do is watch, wondering about his brother's fate. Oh, and Wily is clearly alive. Mega Man 3 is a fine game. I think the Doc robots really overstay their welcome, but I quite enjoy the additions that Mega Man 3 added to the Mega Man series. So, first 3 games of Mega Man, and I am having a lot of fun. I love Mega Man. This has only increased my love for the Blue Bomber. So look out for more Mega Man videos throughout the summer. I need to get all caught up on Mega Man before Mega Man 11 comes out. Well, that's all for now. Thanks for watching. Please hit that like, subscribe, and bell button, and I'll see you later.